All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to our weekly Wise Lecture Series. This is our fifth series that we've done so far. Now, our mission in doing this is to create real lasting value for people, share from our hearts in a way that people can use to transform their lives permanently and effectively and profoundly. And also, we have a lot of leftover ice cream from Free Cone Day, so we're sharing that too. And we like to share with everyone our business, which is Strongbrook. Strongbrook has three main pillars of freedom that are designed to help people take the life that they truly want, a life of victory, of passion, of vitality and joy. And so we'll be talking about that later. So first of all, I'm ready to introduce our guest tonight. I'm privileged to call him a friend, Kevin Clayson. I've seen him on stage. I've been in his office. Many ways, this man has blessed my life. So he recently wrote the book, Flip the Gratitude Switch, which teaches us how to find gratitude in any moment, in any circumstance, and therefore activate our joy. That's our God-given right to have. So I'm very privileged to have him. He's going to break out after he talks. He has an engagement in Oregon tomorrow morning, and he is launching his career. He's been spoken over maybe 1,000 different venues, launching his career as a motivational public speaker, as an author, and we're very privileged to have him. So welcome up, Kevin Clayson.
Hello.
Hello.
And so we got people in the internet world, right? So I'm just gonna say, hey, I just don't want them to feel bad, because they're not here. There's actually 3,000 people in this room, and so it is unbelievable. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you had me come, guys. Thank you so much. You all know, everybody in this room knows me, and you know that this is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I thought what I would do is I'm going to give you a kind of condensed version of the keynote that I generally deliver for Flipping the Gratitude Switch. And let me go back and tell you, first of all, where this book came from and where this message came from. So, and I actually write about it in the book, but it all began when I reached a point in my life where I basically hit rock bottom. Anybody ever hit rock bottom before? Just out of curiosity? Okay, so you gotta know what it's like to be there. I know Stephen's there right now. But I got to a point where I hit rock bottom. And it was one of those times in life where you simply don't know what to do next. You try and try and try, and at some point, it seems like life pulls the rug out from underneath you, and then there you are, face down in the dirt, and you literally have no idea how to get up. And that's kind of where I got to. Funny enough, that was not when I got divorced. That was not during any sort of tragedy that happened. It was just a day-to-day work thing, and there was somebody who'd come into my life that was really, I felt, oppressing my ability to be me, and I hated what I did. I couldn't stand it, and that, if you know me and you know how passionate I am, it was really weird for me to be in a place where I hated what I got up and did every day, and I literally didn't know which way was up. And in 2010, I heard an individual speak by the name of Darren Hardy. Anybody ever heard of Darren Hardy? Anybody read The Compound Effect? I highly recommend you read The Compound Effect. The other book that's phenomenal that I'm going to finish on my drive to Oregon, I have 2 hours left, it's also by Darren Hardy. It's called, this is so appropriate for everybody in this room or watching online, The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. Yeah, it's genius. I mean, it's fantastic. And Darren Hardy's a great guy. So I heard Darren Hardy speak at my mentors convention, a gentleman by the name of James Malinchik. You guys have all heard him talk about him. Darren Hardy came, and Darren Hardy spoke about the compound effect and what the compound effect had meant. Now, the whole idea behind the compound effect is it's tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions and things that you do on a very regular and daily basis that can over time compound and create some really massive results. And he had talked about this one idea, and I gotta be honest, so this is 2010, I gotta be honest, I grew up in a religion that talks about the idea and the power of gratitude. I probably heard it from other personal development speakers But it wasn't until that moment, sitting in that room, when I heard Darren Hardy talk about this idea of gratitude, that I actually took it in as something that was real. Not just a word, but something that could actually be something real. And he talked about what he got to a point where he did something for his wife, and he kept a gratitude journal for his wife. And in this journal, he just wrote down for about a year something that he was thankful for about his wife, and then he gave it to her, and he had this massive impact. Well, in my journal, I'll have to show you guys sometime. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I wrote the worst sentence, the worst English sentence that I think I've ever written. And I went back and looked at my journal, but for some reason, something stood out to me when he was talking about gratitude. And I wrote down something along the lines of, pick daily one thing thankful to be for and write it down. And it was like, I don't know what was wrong with my brain when I wrote this, but I wrote it down. And that idea got embedded deep, deep somewhere in here. And that's where it stayed. Now, I hope that what we talk about tonight, if it's not something that you go out, I hope that you'll go out and start to flip the gratitude switch. You'll understand what that means here in a minute. I hope you'll go out and flip the gratitude switch regularly. I hope you'll do it daily. But if nothing else, I hope that some seed is planted here tonight that, if it needs to be, is embedded deep down somewhere around here, and then that moment will come where life will begin to shift. Maybe it's when you hit your next rock bottom, or when you hit the next low point, and I hope that you'll remember this really simple 4-step philosophy that I'll share with you here tonight and what it can ultimately do for you. Because what happened is, a few years later, when I hit rock bottom, I had nowhere to turn. I felt like I was praying and I was receiving no answers. I felt like I would get up and try to fake my way through being happy and being fulfilled, and I couldn't. And it all came down to this one day and this one moment. It was actually the office, so not our first office, the second office. You guys know we just keep moving west on Ignore It. It was the second office, and I remember pulling up, and I parked, and I usually parked above, and I'd walk the stairs down below. And I remember sitting there and looking down at that building and going, I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. I don't want to do anything. I just want to drive far away. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen when I walk in those doors. And it was really tough for me. I had this little thought enter my mind. Because see, I was at a point where I didn't know where else to turn, and this little idea came back. And I went, wait a second. What was that thing Darren Hardy talked about? So I looked it up in my journal, and there was that terrible sentence about gratitude. And I went, maybe I'll try that. Maybe that's what I should try. And what I started to do is I took the first step. The first step was I began to gratitude journal. And so this was where every day I would just try to write down something that I was thankful for. Well, that practice lasted for a whopping 2 weeks. It was amazing. And then I stopped doing it. And I went, gosh, okay, so that didn't work. And it was because I was giving myself a task to do. And I also realized that part of the weakness of gratitude journaling, and I may be the only gratitude guy out there that says that gratitude journaling maybe isn't the best way to experience gratitude. In fact, if you go on Amazon and you search gratitude books, there's only like 30, and like 27 of them are gratitude journal. Here's the way to write down your gratitude. And look, gratitude journaling is fine, but here's the issue that I have with it. Gratitude journaling removes you from the place where you are and takes you to somewhere where you think about something that happened earlier or that happened yesterday, and then you write about that thing and try to experience gratitude right now for that thing that happened then. Not a bad thing, but generally speaking, why it doesn't stick, because it doesn't bring you to the present. So then I decided, okay, what do I do next? The gratitude journal didn't work, so what can I do? Well, I discovered this thing, and it's another book that I'll write in the future. It's called 7 Daily Decisions. And there's these 7 daily decisions that I try to do every single day, and out of each one of those, one of them was gratitude. I just wanted to express, somehow feel gratitude every single day. And so that became a pretty good idea. And what I do is I have my phone, and I would set reminders on my phone, and my phone would beep me every morning, and it would be like, do these 7 things. And so then I would be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be thankful. Like, and so I would be thankful. But again, it was a reminder to be thankful sometime that day. Still better than going back and writing about something that happened then, now it was, oh, I have to pick a time and be thankful right now. So I felt like it was a step in the right direction. But it wasn't until I realized this idea of taking these tiny moments, these gifts that we're given in the middle of any day, and choosing to experience gratitude right now for whatever that frustration is. In the book, I talk about gratitude being a verb, because that's what it should be. Gratitude should be something that's action-oriented, not just an emotion that we talk about. Normally, when I do my full keynote, I always start by reading something it's a condensed passage from my book. And I'm going to share it with you guys. I wanted to give you that background of how I got to the point of learning to flip the gratitude switch. I'm going to teach you the 4-step flip philosophy tonight. And I'm going to talk about how you use that on a very regular and daily basis. And if I have time, I'm going to go through the 5 ways that gratitude is the largest driver of success. So that's what I want to get to. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull up my laptop and I'm going to read this because you're about to hear, well, I'm not going to preface it. Some of you have heard this, so hi, how are you? So let me just go through this. So this is something I call a tale of 2 men. Both men awake. Both men live in a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. Man number 1 has a beautiful home, a perfect size for his growing children and beautiful wife. Man number 2 has a home in need of repair and is worried at the prospect of financing the necessary repairs. Maybe one day he could finally buy a home that would more comfortably fit his growing family. The first man lays in bed for a moment and feels his healthy heart beating, takes a deep breath of fresh, cool oxygen, and takes a moment to marvel at his fit, healthy body. The second man lays for a moment and runs his hands down his ribs to his big belly, an excess of weight that he just wishes would disappear, but knows that with his busy life and overworked lifestyle, exercise is nothing more than a hope and a dream. Both men roll over to see that the clock says it's time to get up. Man number 1 feels the rush of excitement that accompanies the start of a new day, living his dream life and doing his dream job. Man number 2 dreads spending another day at a job he hates, working for too little pay and for people that do not see his talent or appreciate his contributions to his company. Both men make their way to their bathroom and turn on the shower. The first man hops in and begins to let perfectly warm water run down his head and body. He bends down and blissfully picks up a couple of squirt toys that the kids didn't get picked up from the night before, and he smiles at the thought of those cute kids. The second man hops in the shower and grumbles to himself that the water's not quite warm enough, and then steps on a bath toy and thinks, why can't these kids clean a bath for themselves after their bath? After a shower and a shave, both men make their way to their closets. The first man gazes at his many fine suits, his beautiful shirts and gorgeous patterns, his beautiful collection of silk ties. He dresses and takes a glance in the mirror and thinks, not too bad. The second man, after opening his closet, looks at his limited suit selection, his shirts that feel too familiar and too old, and his ties, a few of which have barely noticeable stains. He pushes the suits over and grabs a pair of khakis that seem a little too tight and throws a polo shirt on. Both men head to the kitchen. The first man, knowing his family will be up soon, starts to prepare breakfast for them. With care and joy, he prepares a nice warm batch of oatmeal as he listens to a book that teaches him principles of success as he makes the meal. The second man grabs a bowl of cereal, hoping to be as quiet as possible so he doesn't wake up the kids and have to get them breakfast. Just as both men finish their breakfast, the kids and wife wake up. The first man greets them and showers each with love, hugs and kisses, and excitedly dishes them up their breakfast as he asks questions like, how'd you sleep? Did you have good dreams? Did you miss me? Because I missed you. The second man also greets his family with love, hugs, and kisses, but is immediately taken back by how loud the kids seem to be talking, and he tries to quiet them as he reluctantly gets bowls of cereal for them. He hopes to move quickly so he can quickly get out the door to his quiet office. The first man tries to do a little extra and squeeze out a few extra minutes with his family before he leaves. The second man tries to find an excuse why he must leave right away. In their own time frames, both men grab their laptops, kiss the wife and kids goodbye, and walk out the door to their cars. The first man opens the door to his comfortable, sporty sedan and fires up the engine. He looks at the gas gauge. He's almost on empty, but he has plenty to get to work. So he powers the radio on so he can take advantage of a few extra moments to listen to his book on success and pulls out his phone to take a brief glance at the bank account. He sees the numbers reflecting the balances and feels an overwhelming gratitude for the incredible abundance that he and his family enjoy. He backs out of the driveway to go create even more of that abundance by spending the day creating as much value as as much value for others and serving as many people as possible. The second man opens the door to his sedan and is once again reminded that it isn't the car he's dreamt of, and it doesn't have all the bells and whistles he wanted. He fires up the engine, looks at the gas gauge, and feels bugged that it's so low. He realizes he'll probably need gas soon, even though he has enough to get to work, so he pulls out his phone and looks at the bank account. There's some money there, but it isn't nearly enough, at least not where he visualizes life being at this point. And it's a reminder of his pointless job where he works for pennies. He pulls out of the driveway, wondering what will go wrong that day and how bad it will be. Now, for those of you that have heard that before, you know that I'm both men. I'm man number one and I'm man number two. At very different times in my life, and the only difference between the two men is this one tiny, simple principle of gratitude. You know, when I got to that point in my life where I was at rock bottom, this is what it would feel like. I would wake up and I was too fat and I was too tired and I was too overworked. But the interesting thing was when I started to execute and feel gratitude, I was the same guy in the same body doing the same job. And then I would go and I'd go get in the shower and I'd step on the bath toys and it would be like, oh gosh, how many times do I have to tell these kids to pick up the toys? Is it that difficult? Just put it in the little net. Right? That was me. And sometimes it was we have renters. And so it was like, gosh, dang it, there's not enough hot water for my shower. And then when I had gratitude and I'd see those toys, just this reminder, what a blessing that these kids live in my home, that I get to play with them. Who cares about the temperature of the shower? I got that. Go in and I get breakfast ready for the family, listening to my book, get all excited. Oh, we can't wait for them to get up. I'm so excited to see them. When I was experiencing gratitude, when I wasn't experiencing gratitude, it was, oh my gosh, I just want to get out of here because the kids are going to be loud. You know, I think for me, one of the most difficult things that took place, and I include it in the story in the book. I didn't include it here. And I'll tell you the honest to goodness reason is because it hurts my wife's feelings. There was a time, during this time frame, we had a newborn, and he did not sleep through the night for a year. I mean, every 2 hours like clockwork, this kid was up. And at the time, I was traveling a lot for my company, and I was speaking a lot, and I'd go on a 3 or 4 day road trip, and then I'd come home, and I'd try to let my wife sleep, and I would just tend the kid. But I was, of course, not feeling gratitude, was really tired, so on and so forth. And I remember this one morning, and I write about this in the book, and it's painful. This was probably, out of the whole book, I have 70,000 words. What I'm about to share with you was likely the most difficult thing that I wrote, because it caused me to be so honest with myself and who I was and how I felt. And I hated that. And I hated admitting it, but I felt like I had to put it in the book because I needed to be 150% authentic. Remember this one morning, waking up, I was tired. And the baby was crying, and it was early. And I walked around the bed. I probably stubbed my toe because I still do that to this day. You think after having the same bed for the last 5 years, I understand the dimensions. Apparently not. It doesn't click. It doesn't register. But I walk around the bed, and I see this angel sleeping there. And I actually had the thought, hey, you know what? Yeah, sure. Just sleep. I'm the one doing all the work. I'm the one working the job. I'm the one hating what I do. You get to stay home with the kids. So please, sleep it. I don't like that guy. That is not the man that my parents raised me to be. It's not the man that my Father in heaven expects me to be, but that's who I was. And all it took was a simple, tiny idea. Going back to what I learned from Darren Hardy, fast forwarding and realizing it's not just a gratitude journal that works, and it isn't just a reminder to feel gratitude, but there's this thing that happens in this moment, these divine little moments that we are given. And inside of that moment, we can do what I call flipping the gratitude switch. It's a simple flip, and all of a sudden, life becomes illuminated. You see things as they really are, not as you think they are. And this process of flipping the gratitude switch is what I wrote the book about. It's a simple 4-step process, FLIP, flip the gratitude switch. You find the frustration, you look for what's awesome, you initiate and invest gratitude in that thing that you discovered, and then you power up with what I call gratitude. And I'm a big believer that gratitude is a verb. I don't think it's a noun. I think a lot of people think it's a noun, a lot of people think it's an emotion, but it's not an emotion. Because if it's an emotion, it's something that happens to you, it's something that washes over you. If gratitude is just something that washes over you, then when can you possibly expect to feel it? No. You have to initiate gratitude. The way that I think of initiating gratitude is by flipping the gratitude switch. I want you to imagine for a moment. I want you to imagine walking into a dark room. And I want you to walk into this dark room and you're supposed to go from one side of the room to the other side. Now, you know that in this room, there may be perils. Hey, there may be things in this room that are absolutely beautiful, but there might be tacks on the floor. You don't know what's in this room. And I just tell you, go in that room, walk from one side to the other side. And then I tell you, here's the deal. The light's going to be off. Now, think about this. If I had you walk into a room and you had to walk from one side to the other, and I told you that the light was going to be off, and you knew that there might be danger, there might be things that could harm you, there might also be things in the room that could be relatively beautiful, how difficult is your task to get from one side of the room to the other in a pitch black dark room? It's tough, right? But just consider, with a tiny, almost insignificant flip of a switch, everything becomes illuminated. The dangers and the perils can now be viewed and you can walk around them. If there was something that was beautiful in that room, it now becomes illuminated. See, it was beautiful whether you could tell it was beautiful or not, right? But now with the light on, you can actually recognize its beauty. My friends, this is what flipping the gratitude switch does in our lives. It allows us to navigate those perils. It allows us to finally see life illuminated, as opposed to continuing to stumble through life in a daze or in darkness. This tiny idea of gratitude. I'm going to take you through the 4 steps of the flip philosophy, and then, so Matt, what time do I go to? What does that clock need to say?
About 35 minutes.
Okay, perfect, awesome, that's good time. Okay, so I want to start with F. Now, I'm going to pull up my slides here just because I want to ask you a couple questions, and I want to make sure that they're worded the right way. Here's what I love about gratitude, and here's what I love about this idea of flipping the gratitude switch. You ever considered what's the one thing that can turn some sort of a hardship into an opportunity? What's the one thing that could turn a failure into a success? What's the one thing that could take despair and turn it into joy? What's the one thing that could take a failure and turn it into a success? What can do that? It's a simple idea of gratitude. I want you to think about this for a moment. Give me a hardship. What's something hard that's happened in your life?
Cancer.
Cancer. Okay, good. Cancer's pretty tough. It's a tough one. Now, how could that be viewed as an opportunity? Now, Stephen, I know that you've had family members that have dealt with cancer. Were you at all able to see some sort of opportunity embedded inside of that hardship?
Yeah.
What was the opportunity you found?
Well, my mother got cancer, and when we found out she had cancer, we all rushed around her, spent a lot of time with her. And my father, we didn't know this was going to happen, but he passed away 6 months after we found out she had cancer. Had she not gotten cancer, we wouldn't have had that precious time that we were going to spend together. So, a lot of people think of cancer as this horrible, mean, sickness and disease, and it is, it can be. But for us, in that time, it was an amazing blessing.
Appreciate that. Now, what Stephen said was a great example, and I want you to consider this because flipping the gratitude switch, it can be something that's really simple when you understand it, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. It can feel difficult at first because it requires you to take the frustrations, be them little or large, and you actually use gratitude in some way to catapult that and create something new out of that which already exists. If you look at cancer, the family came together. Maybe they wouldn't have. Now here's the deal, guys, this is the tough part. Stephen, when your mom got cancer, when your father passed away, there was nothing you guys could do to fix that. So then why let it continue to be a source of pain when you can simply flip it around and turn it into a source of beauty? It's a great flip of the gratitude switch. Give me failure. What's a failure somebody's had?
Job loss.
Job loss. Awesome. I'm a big believer that whenever one door closes, there is a much more beautiful, bigger, polished, and amazing door that just opened a crack. And then we get this amazing blessing to go find it. Now, job loss can be tough, but you know what job loss can teach you? Job loss can teach you what's really important. I, by choice, am self-imposed unemployed right now. Okay, so I've left my company so that I could launch my career as a speaker and so that I could get my book out there. And I'll be honest with you guys, I planned that time frame to be a more condensed time frame than it ends up being. So I have zero guarantee of income. Now, this has been such a remarkable opportunity for me to take what I wrote the book about and actually use it, because every single day, I don't wake up and have a job that I go to where there's a guarantee of income. I don't get to go in and clock in and say, my salary is going to be there or my hourly wage is present. I only get to do one thing, and to be honest, it's quite exhilarating. I get to wake up and go find a way to feed my family until this takes off. It's constant hustle. Can I tell you, the amount of learning, the opportunity that I found by forcing myself to be unemployed has been completely unparalleled to anything else that I've done in my entire experience or existence. My dad, for years, it seemed like my dad was always between job to job. And he would keep a job for a while, and then something would change in the company, and he had to go find another job. And then he'd go find another sales job, and sometimes it was candy, and sometimes it was meat, and sometimes it was medical devices, and he was always going from job to job. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if he thinks of it this way, but that loss of job created something for our family. Number one, it created an understanding of what really mattered and what was really important. Because how important is money? It's important. Buys food. It's a roof over your head. You know what was more important? Is those times when I got to spend those days when I could spend time with my dad at home that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to spend with him because he was between jobs. I don't know if he looks at that as a valuable thing, but I certainly do, because that meant something to me. Those are days that I wouldn't have had if he was at a job. You know what? We always make it. You just kind of always make it. So failure can be turned into success. The next time you experience a failure, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take that failure and I want you to use the flip philosophy on it. Now let me walk you through the flip philosophy so you know what it is. Now, the first thing is F, which stands for find the frustration. Now, finding the frustration is really simple. Finding the frustration happens all the time in all instances. So finding the frustration is anything. It could be the toy on the bathtub floor. It could be the fact that, it could be anything. It could be that there was a carnival tonight that my daughter and we were at with family, it started to rain. That could be frustrating. I'm sure it was frustrating for the principal. It could be the fact that you're running just a little bit late because the kids didn't do this or this didn't happen right, or you had to go get gas and you thought that your spouse had filled up the car and they didn't. It could be anything, right? It could be traffic that's getting in your way as you're trying to get from point A to point B and you have some sort of an appointment that you are coming up against. It could be cancer. It could be loss of job. It could be loss of home. You find the frustration. Now here's the key. You get to acknowledge that it exists. A lot of people don't really acknowledge the frustration. They just go, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. What if you pause for a moment and you just step back and you isolate that frustration and you say, oh, look, hey, there you are. Now this becomes a practice and it's something that you have to get really in tune with, but you will find yourself during those moments of frustration throughout the day, you have that little thing that creeps up inside and you have that little frustration that happens and you'll feel it and you'll know it. So now what you get to do is instead of getting into it and then reacting negatively to it, you just get to recognize it for what it is and you go, hey, hi, frustration, you're here. Okay, cool. Now that you're here, I've got 3 more steps. F-L-I-P. So now that I found the frustration, now comes L. I look for what's awesome. Now, L can also be the equivalent of finding the silver lining. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. People say this all the time, right? It's an overused phrase, which is why I don't necessarily love it. But if you find the silver lining in something, what does that ultimately mean to find the silver lining?
That there was a storm that was bad.
Okay, think about it. So there's a cloud, And why is there silver lining? There's something that's shining from behind it. So if there is a silver lining, you can acknowledge that there's light. There's something that's seeking to shine through and break through whatever it is that's happening. So that's what looking for what's awesome is. So I'll give you an example. So I talked about the bath toy. I step on the bath toy, I could be frustrated, or I choose to think, you know what's awesome? I have kids and they're alive and they're healthy. We have indoor plumbing.
Amen.
We have a home and a roof, and this is not us out in the yard with a hose trying to bathe the children where they probably wouldn't have bath toys. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Cancer. Maybe it's an opportunity for the family to come together. Job loss. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to learn an additional skill that I've known I've needed to learn for a long time, but been unwilling to, because by the way, this is something that you may or may not know. You know why most semi-successful people don't become more successful, right? Because they've already been somewhat successful. And sometimes success gets in our way of becoming more successful. Because there's a level of comfort that comes with mild success that does not allow us to push through to greater success. Because we've achieved this, and this is good enough. And we always think, oh, it would be kind of nice to have a little bit more, but that might be risky. And a risk, ooh, I don't know if that's gonna work. So I'm just gonna stay in my little comfort zone. It happens all the time. So maybe job loss is an opportunity to step out of the comfort zone and do the things that you've actually felt like you were supposed to do. I'll tell you an experience that I had in the early days of the company that we started a while ago. We got to a point where I was just completely financially broken. A lot of people don't talk about this, but when you own a company and you start a company, you're like the last people to get paid. Generally speaking, like if there's money, you gotta meet payroll. And what a lot of people don't know is that the company is struggling, and if there's cash flow problems, guess who are the first people to get pay cuts? The owners of the company. But people don't ever talk about this because you gotta be hush-hush about it, right? But the reality was we got to a point where it was really, really tough. When we started the company, we were commission only. The only way that the three main ones of us that got paid was we had to go and originate loans, and we had to go close loans. And we got to a point where I was 4 months late on my mortgage. I was about to lose my home. And I had this day, and I got the foreclosure notice on my door. And I freaked out. My initial reaction was like, gosh, what are we gonna do? We're not even gonna have a home. We're gonna lose our house. But this thing happened. At the time, I didn't realize I flipped the gratitude switch, but it's ultimately what I did. See, I found a frustration. The frustration was we might be out of our home. And somehow there was something inside that allowed me to look for what was awesome. And at the time, it was just my wife and I, and we had our little baby girl. And I remember sitting on my couch and looking out the window and just going, you know what? Take the house. There's no way I'm not going to be able to feed my family or put a roof over their head. You can't stop. And I also recognize that what I had right there in that moment, I became present to that moment, and I had this wife and this daughter. It was everything I could have ever wanted in that moment. So even in the face of foreclosure and losing my home, I had something magnificent. I looked for what was awesome. Then you move on to the third step, which is which is now you initiate gratitude, or you invest gratitude in the thing that you found that's awesome. Initiating gratitude looks like this. So now that I'm there with my wife and my daughter, and I realized we could lose the home, and by the way, pause, if I was in a mindset where I'm super freaked out that I am going to lose the home, by the way, that's called fear, and anytime you have fear, it's absolutely impossible to create any kind of result whatsoever. Let me just throw that out there. Fear is absolutely the success serial killer. And so if you have fear, you cannot create. So if you are in a constant state of mind of fear, you will not be able to create a solution. Just know that, and just do your best to eradicate it. One of the best ways to eradicate it, fear is darkness. One of the ways you get rid of darkness is you shine light on it. One of the ways you can shine light on it is it might be a simple flip of a switch. Okay, see what I did there? Guys, switch? Yeah, what I did. Okay, so point is, you gotta get away from that fear. You gotta initiate gratitude, and it becomes something that now that I see this wife and this daughter of mine, it's actually making a conscious decision to be now thankful that they are there. See, there's a difference between finding it, recognizing, acknowledging it, and then choosing to infuse or invest or initiate gratitude. It's that moment when you actually do flip the gratitude switch and you begin to feel something more.
Goes from noun to verb.
Goes from noun to verb. This is where in the book I call it verbifying gratitude. Yeah, I created a new word. You verbify gratitude, it becomes actionable. And here's the cool thing about action and verbs. You initiate them. You become the person that creates the action. So now you initiate gratitude. And then this really cool thing happens, and we call it P, power up with gratitude. Gratitude, I say gratitude because I believe that gratitude fuels life. If you think about a car, it could be the most beautiful, most expensive car on the planet. And imagine that you had this custom McLaren that was built for you, $250,000 to your exact specifications. This is the exact car that you've always wanted, and you have the money, you paid cash for it, you are ready to go. You sit in that McLaren, and you put your hands around the steering wheel, and you just cannot wait to hear the roar of the engine, and this thing's gonna get you over 200 miles an hour in a heartbeat. It's the most beautiful car you've ever seen, one of a kind in the world. Put your hands on that steering wheel, stick that key in the ignition, and you turn it, and the engine doesn't fire. Turn it again, the engine doesn't turn over, and you realize there's one little tiny thing missing. I just spent 250 grand on the car, but I forgot to spend $50 to fill the tank. No matter how finely tuned and amazing you believe your machine is, it requires fuel. And I believe that gratitude fuels life. So when you go through this process and you've got this frustration and you find and you acknowledge that frustration, and then you find something inside of it and you can look for what's awesome, you create or you look for that silver lining. And now that you found what's awesome, you initiate gratitude, you infuse gratitude into that thing, and you flip that switch and you begin to feel something. That thing that you feel, literally, it will be this internal thing that you feel. Your body will actually release dopamine when this happens. It is an actual chemical reaction that takes place when you choose to experience gratitude, and that you will feel a chemical shift inside of you, and that shift will power you through to the next frustration that you find. So when you choose to initiate and feel gratitude, you power up with gratitude and you acknowledge it as such. One of the other little tricks that I use is on a water bottle. I'll write the word gratitude, and every sip that I take, I actually choose to experience and feel as though that water is gratitude. I'm thankful for life, and it's literally going into my body. And it helps just act as a reminder. The other thing I do is I have these light switch covers in my home, and my kids have learned this. My kids are having a hard time. In fact, I don't have time to show you a video, but if you go on my YouTube channel, you can see a video of my daughter, who's 6, describing what it means to flip the gratitude switch. It's changed the way we parent. It's changed our entire lives. It's changed our marriage. My friends, I was man number 2 for a really long time. And it was the simple act of gratitude used consciously and daily, and applied gratitude and turning it into a verb, making it actionable, that shifted me into somebody who became man number 1, and who became somebody that can be thankful for all things in life. Let me tell you, this is not an easy trick. It is something that you have to practice. It is something you need to be aware of. Don't overwhelm yourself with feeling like you need to flip the gratitude switch every single time a frustration comes up. Not yet. You will get there. Do this and choose to make this choice tonight. Sometime tonight, something will happen between now and when you go to bed that will create frustration. Just flip the gratitude switch there. Find that frustration, acknowledge it. Locate something that's awesome inside of that. Choose to feel and initiate gratitude, and you will power up with gratitude, and it'll get you through to the next frustration. And just choose to flip the gratitude switch at least once a day for the next 90 days. I promise you, if you do this, I tested this. I did it for 30 days. I took 100 people, and I had them flip the gratitude switch consciously and actually make a note of it every single day for 30 days. I had some people do it for 2 weeks, some people do it for 3 weeks, some people do it for 4 weeks. Of those that did it for 2 weeks, they saw, and what I did is I had them take a test. And I measured their answers so that I could gauge their happiness level. I turned it into a numerical value. For those that executed and did this for 2 weeks straight, they saw a 9% increase in gratitude, or increase in happiness and contentment in life. For those that did it for 3 weeks, they saw a 14% increase in happiness and contentment and fulfillment. For those that did it for the full 4 weeks, they saw nearly a 20% increase in their scores on their happiness quiz and the level of contentment and joy that they felt. Just 30 days, just flipping the gratitude switch once a day. So look, this has been a brief explanation of what it means to flip the gratitude switch. At the end of the day, here's what I want you to remember. It is through the daily, simple, conscious act of applying conscious gratitude during the most frustrating times of the day that can not only change your life that day, but change the entire trajectory of your life. You now possess a tool that means you never have to have a bad day again. Do you know that? So, guys, with that, I'm going to leave you. If you guys want a cheat sheet, I have a little cheat sheet that goes through FLIP. I'm happy to send that to you. All you need to do is text the word Gratifuel to 33444. So it's just a short text code, 33444. Text the word Gratifuel. And what it'll do is over the next couple days, I'll send you that cheat sheet and I'll send you a couple other things that hopefully will be beneficial to you and that'll make a difference for you. So with that, thank you guys so much. Choose to be gratitude flippers. Choose to do it every day. Choose to get present to those frustrations and make that shift and allow life to be illuminated and far more beautiful than it already currently is. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Excuse me, going his way. By the way, his favorite ice cream is red velvet cake. Right now.
I also really love strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry cheesecake. There you go. All right. So for me, listening to this presentation, I flipped the gratitude switch. I've been working on flipping the gratitude switch. At one time in my life, I was profoundly depressed and had a serious death wish constantly all the time. And so as that has evolved, I found frustration that for me, most people can count on something to look forward to in life. I mean, maybe most of life is frustrating or irritating, whatever, but there's one thing. When I get to vacation, I can relax. Or something, I get to have a good night's sleep and I can relax.
Sorry, what's your YouTube channel?
Just go to Kevin Clayson. Kevin Clayson, and there's all kinds of stuff on there. And you can also go to kevinclayson.com. There's a bunch of videos. You can also go to gratifuel.com, and there's a video of me doing the full Flip the Gratitude Switch keynote. It's about 45 or 50 minutes long. You can use as a reminder. So thanks everybody. I'm speaking for a big high school in Oregon tomorrow, and I've got to drive to get there, so I'm going through the night. So thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. So for me to find the good in the fact that there's not one thing in life that I can count on enjoying or being happy about, that gives me great and powerful motivation to turn inward to find the joy, to turn inward to see what good, like to feel happiness. And so I initiate the gratitude by choosing, I decide that this condition that I've had developed over this course of time is a profound blessing. I make that choice. I could choose for it to be a curse or choose to be the blessing. I initiate that gratitude as a profound blessing in my life. Powerful motivation for me to transform my life, and I power up all the time. I live a blessed life because I decided it was a blessing. Therefore, I live a blessed life.
Sorry to interrupt. Real quick. I just want everybody to know I just had to flip the gratitude switch. This is how often it happens. I went out to my car, put my laptop in the back of my car, and I closed my door. And right now, at my home, where I park under a carport, there's a nest of birds, and they crap on my car all day. And so I closed the door, and I got a full finger full of bird poop. And I went, ugh. And then I went, hold on, I have a car. That's awesome. See? Flip the gratitude switch. That's so that can happen even with bird poop, ladies and gentlemen.
Even with bird poop. With anything. Yes. And so I get to power up and live my life blessed, and I get to transform every area of my life. So very grateful to Kevin Clayson for coming and sharing this message. What a great message that was. What an inspiration he is to all of us. So now we get to introduce my friend Matt Parks, who's going to tell us about the 3 pillars of Strongbrook. Strongbrook is dedicated to empowering individuals to living a life of freedom, as you indicated. And if there's one person in my life I'm grateful for, Matt Parks has believed in us. He helped us to get into Strongbrook. He saw a vision for our family and our future that we didn't see, but he was patient with us and has supported us every step of the way as we have expanded our vision of a much greater abundant life. And I love crying. I love emotion. That's my dearest friend. So introduce Matt Parks.
pleasure to be a part of your family. I married a sister. I did well. So, as he mentioned, I'm going to talk briefly about Strongbrook. And when we were, he mentioned that when we were creating these weekly whys, part of what we were coming up with is we were trying to figure out what on earth do we do with all this ice cream. Because we have 3 freezers full of ice cream left over from Free Cone Day when we hosted that. And so we wanted to figure out, okay, how do we do this in a productive, helpful way? And we wanted to do it, we wanted to somehow integrate it with the business that we have to promote Strongbrook. But we also wanted to make sure that it was something that we would attract the people that would want to hear what Strongbrook has to offer. And so that's how we came up with this weekly whys, where we invite people to share a message that's important to them. And if you're here listening to that, then that may indicate that Strongbrook may resonate with you too. Who knows? We'll see. But that's part of what we wanted to create. So to get started, I want to just invite you to imagine for a moment. Whatever it is that as a family, your income is, if you can just imagine that number monthly, how much you bring in. And just do some math for a second, divide that number in 2 and imagine what that number is. So half of that. If I were to tell you for a moment, that is now your income. That half of your income. What kind of feeling or what kind of emotion might that bring up just initially? Yes.
Flip, wait.
Yeah, it brings up that F of the frustration real quick, like a little flare. All right, well, we won't dwell there. Come back, you're aware. Now I want you to take that amount and add it again. So 1.5 times of what you make. You make that now. How does that feel? What emotions come up there?
Awesome.
Like, sweet. Have some breathing room, like there's some things I've been wanting to do. This is great. Right? Interestingly enough, did I tell you have $1 million in your bank account?
Failed to mention that.
I failed to mention that.
All of a sudden, I'm okay making that.
But see, here's the difference. I didn't say you had $1 million in your bank account because that wasn't really what tied to it. It was the flow of money coming in. And in our society, it seems that we've come to value more the size of our bank account than the value we are producing in exchange for what we are receiving in income, our cash flow. I personally believe that that is a little backwards and mixed up. Because I believe our resources that we have are meant to be used. I believe that we are stewards, that what we own isn't ours. Call it a religious belief, that's where it comes from for me, but however you view it, I believe that we are stewards. That what we have isn't ours. And so it's meant to be used to serve, to provide value, and in return, provide an added income to us. There are many, many, many ways to accomplish this. Many ways to be successful stewards. One way is real estate and real estate investments. If you own real estate and you rent it to someone or put someone in that's paying rent in such a way that it provides a return on your investment, so you are receiving monthly cash flow above and beyond your expenses, that is creating a flow that is increasing that monthly income for you. And it's using your resources to provide a service and value to someone else. So I was looking, when I graduated and got my job and had my honeymoon period of, oh, this is so amazing, I have a real paycheck for the first time, and this is awesome, I can go buy stuff. And then it didn't take very long for that honeymoon period to just kind of fade. And I was like, okay, I have a job and I have to go every day. And kind of like Kevin, I was in dire need of a gratitude switch flipping because I just lost it. And I thought, I want to do something different. And I think it's okay to want to do something different, but still experience gratitude for what we have. That's a natural part of life. So I began looking. And I found real estate education, and I dabbled a little bit in that and had a very unpleasant experience. Kind of got a sour taste in my mouth to the point that when my father-in-law invited me to hear about Strongbrook, I said no thanks. He said, it's a real estate company. I said, no, thanks. I've looked at all these, they're all the same, and I'm not interested in being pressured into doing something that then at the end of the day, I'm gonna pay a bunch of money so that they can give me a book and say, good luck, because I can't do it. I don't care about real estate. I'm the world's worst fix-it man. I don't even know how to use a drill at the time. I've learned since. But I mean, I just, it's not for me. So, but he persisted, and finally my wife, in her good nature, said, let's just humor him. Just go, you don't have to do anything, you can sit in the back, you know. And so I said, fine, we'll go. And I sat in the back all humph, you know, condescending look. And it was actually Kevin Clayson that was presenting. And as you could see, he has a lot of energy. And in my space where I was, not feeling very much gratitude for being there, I was very condescending. I was just criticizing everything that they were doing. And I was ready for the push and the sales pitch and the, we're just gonna gut you for it. And he introduced Chris Crone, who was the founder, and he came up and had a lot of energy, and then he paused just right there at the beginning and said, you know, for some of you, this is going to resonate, and you're gonna wanna play with us, and it's gonna be awesome. And others of you, and I was like, oh yeah, here it comes, bring it. Here's the pictures, your life is gonna be horrible if you don't do this. He said, for others of you, what part is friends? And I sat there and I was a little miffed, actually, because I built a wall and he wasn't attacking it. And so it opened my ears. And I started listening to what they actually had to say, and I found a company that was different. Not a company that was going to say, here's a book, here's a bunch of information, good luck to you. It said, no, we don't actually trust you enough to be able to do real estate as a client because it's hard. And so if you're going to come in and do real estate with us, we're going to take care of it for you. We'll educate you. We'll get you, enough knowledge and information. You can be wisely call the shots. But we're going to create a game plan for you of what we're going to look like in 10 years, so that you can have a cash flow that you can retire on, owning homes free and clear. But we're going to do all the work because we don't trust you to do this right. And I thought, really? You get me? Can this be true, And so I did my due diligence, and we found it, and for us, we felt it was right, and we joined, and that was about 4 years ago. We now own 2 homes that are investments in Arizona, with the third one that's in partnership. They're doing very well. They're cash flowing for us. We just had a renter leave their lease. They were excellent renters. They left the place so clean that they could just put the sign right back up the very same day. They didn't even have to do anything. That's the second time that's happened for us. Within a month, it was rented again for a higher rent. It was an amazing experience. That just barely happened a couple months ago. Our experience with them has been phenomenal all along the way. I'm not going to tell you there haven't been road bumps. I don't live in a perfect world. I just don't believe that life is 100% perfect all the time. We get experience to flip the gratitude switch. That's part of our purpose in here in life. So we've had some of those, but they've been minor, and Strongbrook has been there to help us over them. So it's just been a great experience for us. After a number of years, a couple of years since I was in it, Strongbrook experienced an interesting phenomenon. They were spending $100,000 or so a month in traditional marketing. And that was, your radio ads, your billboards, your TV, all that kind of stuff, $100,000 a month in marketing. And then they did some research, and they had some people come to them and say, hey, I sent my friend to you, and they said, would it be all right if I got a little kickback from, could you send me a check? Would that be cool? And they said, yeah, sure, let's try this out. And created a little referral program. And after a little while, they found that over 60% of their clients were coming from word of mouth. Now, if you own a company and you're spending $100,000 a month in advertising, and it only gets you 40% of your clients, and you spend a little bit over here and it gives you 60% of your clients, what are you going to do with that $100,000 a month?
Put it back in the profitable side of the business.
Yeah, put it in the profitable side of the business, exactly. So they took that, turned off the faucet, if you will, the spending faucet, and created a world-class referral program. And that is what we are a part of. And that's why that's part of why we're doing this. That's what this presentation is us telling you about Strongbrook, so that if it resonates with you, you can participate. And if you do, there's a fee to join. It's anywhere from $500 up to $15,999. Depending on what package you come in and what you're ready to do. And we'll talk with you, we'll do a completely free game plan for you. There's no obligation to it, there's no pressure to it. It's just, this is what we can do for you if it resonates with you, if it's interesting to you. And if you do, then you get a referral net. We're referring you for a finder's fee if you will. So that's the first pillar that, we talked about the 3 pillars of Strongbook. The first one is that facilitated real estate program. The second one is this entrepreneurship through building a business to refer people to Strongbook. And that's what both Ryan and I have done and enjoy it. Lastly, there was an interesting experience as people were doing real estate. They said, hey, we don't really trust you to do it yourselves. But when it came time, people would invest all this money to play with us. They invest in the highest package and pay $16,000 to invest $16,000 to work with us. That's just a retainer fee, if you will, to work with us and have access to our properties, have access to our team, do it all for you. But then they get time to pull the trigger and buy a house, and they'd be like, fear would come up. And then the coach that was assigned to them to work with them and help them execute their game plan would suddenly become a coach of, let me help coach you through your fears, and a personal development coach kind of a thing. It became a personal development program. And mentorship, I personally believe in mentorship. I believe it's important. Frankly, fundamentally, I believe that personal development is more than just a nice idea. I believe that personal growth, personal development is a fundamental characteristic of our life's purpose. That's what we're here for. And I'm so grateful that we get to put on these weekly whys because it's a great source of that for me. And Strongbrook has provided an amazing source. They have created what's called the Strongbrook Mentor Network. So in the mentoring world, to give you just a brief idea of how it works, if you want to mentor with someone, there's a number of different levels to play to work with a mentor that's a world-class mentor that can really help you progress. One is, they may have some online products, online content you consume, or home study courses, CDs, things like that. You'll find a lot of speakers offer, or trainers or mentors offer those kinds of things. And you may pay a few $100s up to, even a few $1,000s for that kind of content. Then from there, if you want to work more with them, kind of a personal experience with them, you're going to be paying, a few thousand, maybe up to $5,000, sometimes $10,000 to do kind of a group mentoring where you with a few other people are in a mastermind or a group mentoring where they are working with you for a period of time to mentor you. Then if you want to work one-on-one with them, then it gets really expensive. Then you're looking at $10,000, $15,000, $30,000, $50,000 to work with a mentor for a period of time to help you progress. Now, why would you want to invest that much money with someone? Well, what's your vision for your life? What do you want to achieve? Where are you going? How much more expensive is it to make all the mistakes yourself than to have someone who's been where you want to go and hold your hand to get there? That's what mentorship offers, having that guide. And so we have then taken, the vision of the Mentor Network is we want to take all of that difficulty in accessing mentors and make mentorship available for the common man. Just like real estate, it's no longer just for the rich, it's for all of us. And Strongbrook can help us do it. And now we're revolutionizing this as well, where mentorship, quality mentorship from world-class mentors is available for the common man. To participate, we're releasing an app here at the beginning of next month, and that will be a free app, a free download that will have regular daily content. And then if you want to upgrade and really get into a lot of different mentors' content, it's $99 a month. If you pay that $99 a month and refer 3 people into it as well, you don't have to pay it anymore. It's free. Free and free. But the idea is you get all of these mentors and their programs. This is not their free books. This is not their free promotional materials. This is the few $100s up to thousands of dollar programs that they have donated to this network because they see the vision of it. And they see how they can get their message out and help people. And there's benefits for them too in exposure and other things. And you have access to hundreds of thousands of dollars of content. It's only launched in February. Its official launch, that was its pre-launch, its official launch was just here in April. And we already have hundreds of thousands of dollars of content that is normally charged there, accessible for $99 a month. The value here is amazing, and you get to sample from these different mentors. And then these mentors can put other upgrades, if you will, that you can then purchase. And every dollar that you pay of that $99 a month, guess what? It gets you a point that you can then apply towards one of their packages that they sell. Maybe they have a $10,000 mentoring package, and you'd like to work with them, but man, $10,000, that's out there a little bit. Well, every $99 that you pay gets you a point, and you can apply up to 5,000 points towards that to be able to work with that mentor on a more individual basis. And not only that, you're picking the mentor you've already had experience with. You're not saying, well, I like this mentor, I'm going to go with them because he's the one I met, and no. You've checked a bunch of different mentors. You've gotten to enjoy all this content, and you're like, you know what? I need to work with them. So for me to take the next step that I want in my life and see the results I want to work with that person. You can do that. That's the value that's provided here. So if this resonates with you, if you believe as I do that personal growth is a fundamental characteristic of life's purpose, then maybe the Strong Work Mentor Network is a good fit for you. So thank you. Appreciate getting the chance to share this with you. It's something I love. It's something I believe in. And let's get some ice cream. You want us to say anything right now? All right. We'll end it there. And if you want some ice cream, join us next week. Oh, I wanted to mention, next week, Preston Norris, who is a 13-year-old, will be coming to speak in our weekly Why about how to help your teen get out of the frying pan and into the fire. I don't exactly know what that means yet. I've heard that he has a really great twist on it, but he is a kid entrepreneur, entrepreneurial spirit. It'll be a great, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a great event. So that's next week, next Tuesday.